Hey, what's up? This is Tim Roth from Into Eternity.
This is Diana van Giersbergen from Xandria.
Hey, this is David Rivera from Ex Mortis.
This is Cobra Page from Cobra and the Lotus.
This is Danny Marino from The Agonist, and you're listening to the Great Metal Debate podcast.
Well, welcome, Great Metal Debate listeners, and tonight we have another very special guest for you. Joining us again from Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada is none other than Miss Brittney Slayes from Unleash the Archers. Brittney, welcome back to the Great Metal Debate podcast.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Good to hear from you again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I had a really good time last time, so hopefully we'll do the same.
Okay, we aim to please. Let's just jump right in, okay?
Sure.
All right, now, Brittney, we've invited you back tonight for a very special reason. Why don't you tell us what Unleash the Archers has been up to?
Well, we have a new album coming out on June 26th in Europe and July 10th in North America. So,
What's the name of the album?
It's called Time Stands Still.
And you guys have been working on this for quite a while.
Yes, we have.
and I know, as far as the Great Metal Debate listeners goes, it's one of the most expected, anticipated, if you will, albums of the year. So, super excitement about it. I can tell you that for a fact.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Now, Brittney, I read on your Facebook where the reviews are kind of starting to come in. How's it been received so far?
Pretty good, actually. Almost everything has been very positive. If they have, rating scales or whatever, we're doing pretty good with that. Probably about 90%, I'd say.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah. So, it's doing really well. I'm better than I could have ever hoped. I'm a firm mind that if you have no expectations, then there are no disappointments. So I try not to, I'm not saying that I don't hope for anything ever, but I try not to expect too much or get my hopes up. So it's been really great, actually. I'm surprised.
Well, that's good. Those are always a pleasant surprise. And 90, you get an A for your music grade this semester. That's excellent. Now, as always, there's comparisons with previous albums, and the one track that I've heard from the video, which we'll talk about in a little bit, it has a little bit of a different sound to it. I know that Braden's no longer with you guys. You got the new guitarist and Andrew Kingsley and the new bass player and Kyle Shepard. Mm-hmm. Has that given the band kind of a new voice to your music?
Yeah, a little bit, actually, for sure. Andrew is definitely a very different guitar player from Braden. He's they're both very talented. They just have different styles. So Andrew, came in with he had a whole bunch of ideas and stuff that he was ready to rock when he joined us. He knew that we were in the middle of writing a new record, and he was super excited to contribute to it, and we were excited to have him. But he also, he was the one that brought it up, that said, if there's anything that you think doesn't sound right, that isn't the UTA sound, then just, we'll toss it. And that we really appreciated that he understood that we didn't want to completely go in a whole new direction, that we wanted to stay true to what we've done in the past. So,
all right, well, let me ask you this. Do you set out to create a new sound, or is that kind of a natural evolution of a band that's hitting on all cylinders?
Yeah, no, we don't want to be the kind of band that releases the same record every time. We want to change and evolve, but we also grow and we mature, and with new writers comes, new ideas and trying things that that another member of the band would never have tried before, or just sort of opening up to new ideas and new riffage and things like that. But we never were ones to shy away from trying something new, on the other records. So I think that we'll continue to create new stuff and experiment with things as it comes around, and as our personal tastes change as well, because you know, I mean, personally, I was really inspired by Lost Horizon on this new record, and then I may fall in love with some other band and be, you know, totally inspired by that. You know, some, I don't know, doom black metal band. You never know. So, yeah, I mean, you don't want to write the same record every time, for sure.
Well, now it's my understanding that Grant and Andrew had played together before or knew each other. So, you know, how hard is it to get that someone new in the band, you know, to welcome them in the writing process? And you know, you've already said that it was a fairly smooth transition with him coming in and saying, if it's not your sound, then let me know. You know, so does that release the tension and make it easier for the writing process in general?
When Braden left, we sort of made a go of it on our own, the three of us, Grant and Scott and I, writing and just trying to power through it a little bit. But it was very hard and very slow going. Yeah, we'd get together and jam and figure out a song, but when we would get to a point where it's like, hey, well, where does it go from here? Or, you know, we would keep going back to the same old stuff, and we wanted something new. And so when we thought to ask Andrew, even though he was over on the island at the time, it was, we were just sort of over the moon that he agreed to join the band. He agreed to move over to Vancouver because he was the first one that all of us thought of. Because he and Grant played together in Archon Legion, and we used to tour with Archon Legion a lot, and we played lots of shows with them. And if you look at our poster wall that we have up in our jam spot of all the posters for shows that we've ever kept, there's a lot of Archon and Unleash on there together. So we've always been really close with Andrew and Grant, and so it was kind of like this amalgamation of these two classic Victoria bands, you know, come together to create this super group, as you will, I guess. And it was very easy once we had Andrew in there. It just, everything started going and wheels were in motion, and it worked out really well, and we were very lucky that he lifted up his whole life and brought it over to Vancouver for us. So yeah,
that's excellent. I think it certainly comes out in the video and in the teaser that you put out so far. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing it. Let's talk about going into the studio now. Brittney, I've always thought it was kind of weird. You know, the guys lay down their tracks, and then you go into this room by yourself, you know, and there's some people in a booth pointing at you and bobbing their heads. You know, what's that like? Is it intimidating? Does it get easier as you go along?
Yes, actually, I would have to say that I'm much more comfortable in the studio now than I was before. It is intimidating, yes. It's also, you put a lot of pressure on yourself more than anything. You have an idea in your head, or you've written this part and you want it to sound just a certain way, and maybe your voice isn't working for you that day, and you're not quite getting there or something. It can be really frustrating. And sometimes, you can do a part 50 times and it just kind of loses its meaning a little bit, and then you gotta like take a break and then come back, and it's it can be pretty strenuous in there. This time, I mean, it was still stressful and everything, and there was definitely a lot of swearing and punching the air and like changing the way I stood like a million different ways to try and get that perfect wail or whatever. But this time I think I sort of just kind of threw it all out there. I didn't want to hold anything back, and I wanted to do my best, and I didn't want to, a lot of times I think about, oh, what are people going to think about this, or, other people's opinions, and I just said, you know what, excuse my language, but fuck it, I'm just going to do what I do, and if people don't like it in the end, whatever. And basically, I think it came across. I don't know.
Well, I mean, are you a vocal perfectionist? Are you the gal in the booth where guys are going, okay, come on, we got it, but you're going, no, one more time.
Yeah, yes.
That is you. Okay, perfect.
Unfortunately, though, we don't really have the time or the money to make everything perfect. I mean, if I had, give me 6 months in a studio to get every single syllable perfect, I would, but we can't afford to spend that much time in there, unfortunately. So Braden did all the recording though of my vocals, so that was awesome because I love him and he's like my brother, and he has always produced my vocals, and this time it was really, I don't know, it was different because he wasn't a bandmate. He was he was the engineer, and he was the guy on the other side of the soundboard. So I think we worked really well together, and there were points where he's like, "No, Brett, like it's good, trust me," and I just had to go, and I just had to trust him. And I think there were some points where I was kind of like, "No, let's," I know exactly what I'm thinking, and then there were other points where I was like, "You know what, you're right, okay, let's move on."
Okay, now you've got this great teaser and a video out now. How are the pre-orders going?
Good, really good, yeah. I mean, a lot of Canadian pre-orders, of course, because we have a lot of friends and fans here, and the shipping wasn't ridiculous to Canada like it was for Europe and the US. So, yeah, pretty good, actually. I mean, it's honestly, it's not going to cover the cost of how much everything is to buy from Napalm because it's so expensive now. It's unbelievable how, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, I do. We hear this from bands a lot. I mean, it's just incredibly expensive to record.
Yeah, and but like, I don't know. I just am excited for all the things that they can do for us, that, the places that they can take us that we couldn't go on our own. So I have to keep reminding myself that the benefits outweigh the detriments, but it's
absolutely. And
yeah,
it's coming. It'll get there.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let me ask you, any band worth their salt uses social media these days? Do you guys do your own social media stuff?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let me ask you this, along those lines, and this is always a kind of a touchy subject for bands, I think. It's a fine line between exposure and giving your material away on stuff like YouTube and such. How do you deal with that, especially now that you're with Napalm? You don't want to give your music away for free, but you got to get out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is nice to have Napalm there that they tell us what we're allowed to give out and who and when, and they sort of they have really tight rules about that stuff. So it's kind of nice now that they're in charge of all that, because then when people come to us and they say, "Oh, I'm a DJ, send me your CD." I mean, how do we know that you're a DJ? How do we know that, you know what I mean? And whereas before I would always feel bad. It's like, yeah, we want to get our music out there and we want it to be on your tiny radio show in the middle of wherever, nowhere. But it's also very expensive to print a CD, to send it to you, to give a CD away. That's, $15 that isn't going to go in our gas tank on our next tour and stuff like that. So, it was always very hard for me because I do want people to be able to have access to the music even if they can't afford it. But it is nice now that we basically just say, please contact the label for promotional stuff, blah blah blah, and it's been pretty good. I mean, I've had friends that I have worked with before that have said, hey, can you get me on the list for promos, and I sent that all, and when all the other big websites got it, they got it too. So. I mean, there's not. I'm not saying that I don't have any say in it, but when it comes to most of it, it's all on Napalm. So, but I mean, like I said, I don't want to stop people from being able to hear the music, and I'm all for streaming it on YouTube once it's out. I just don't know that we would be allowed to do that. It's really, like, technically we don't own that music anymore. It's not our music, so, which is. Yeah.
Well, Gomflock has a saying, and that is, real fans buy music and merchandise and support bands. I think that's very true, and I think that's something you guys deserve. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and, you need to get a reward for that, I think.
For sure. Yeah, that's understandable, yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the video. Tonight We Ride. It's very Mad Max-like. And my question is this: were there actual marauders with masks and wigs and crazy goggles chasing us? At any point in time, did a vehicle blow up and flip over?
No. Oh, that would have been so cool, though.
Oh, God. Well, listen. I think the video is pretty cool as it is. Why don't you tell me about the making of the video?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's basically, it was actually filmed about 2 years ago in the summer of 2013. So that's why Braden is in it, and not Andrew. And we had recorded Tonight We Ride to use as a demo to shop out to labels. And we were contacted by, well, we weren't contacted. We had a friend that put us in touch with Nathan Cox, who is the director. And he said, yeah, I'd be totally down with shooting a music video for you guys, but we need to do it like right away. So we were like, okay. So we had Tonight We Ride ready to go. So that's the one that we used. And we went down to the desert, and Nathan has friends that are part of this camp from Burning Man called Death Guild Thunderdome. And basically what they do is they set up a real Thunderdome at Burning Man every year, and they have these rad art cars that they bring, and they surround the dome, and it's just like the movie and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, totally awesome, right? So Nathan knew all these people, and we went down there, and they were nice enough to give us their time and access to their vehicles, and they drove us around for 3 days. We were filming, and then Nathan put it all together, and he was kind of like, well, what do you want me to do about Braden? And we were like, okay, just leave him in there, because he really deserved to, have that last little bit of UTA, because he put so much time into this band, and he's been such a huge part of, why we are where we are today. So we left him in there, and we said, oh, whatever, people will ask questions, but it doesn't matter. So. And then, it was ready to go. We were going to release the record in early 2014, and Braden quit, and we lost our bass player as well, and things just came to a standstill. And then we found Andrew, and we got things going again, and then we were ready for a fall 2014 release, and then Napalm contacted us, and so we pushed it back again. And then it happened to coincide perfectly with the release of the new Mad Max Fury Road movie. So it actually worked out pretty good in our favor, actually. So
I think it's a great first release. I mean, in that video, you hit notes. I think as powerful as I've ever heard you sing. I mean, it really is a great job. A job well done.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, now let's change directions here a little bit. We talked about influences on the last interview. You talked about Dickinson and Halford and some of the classic, metal singers. But I think we learn a lot about someone by knowing what they listen to in certain moods. So, like, you get a contemplative mood, a thoughtful mood. Who do you listen to?
Fiore. I think they're from Sweden. I'm not too sure, but it's like exactly like you think. Fever Ray.
Yeah.
And they did actually the song that is the opening credits for the show Vikings.
Oh, cool.
You know that?
I love that show.
Yeah, so that like really pounding sort of darker progressive kind of track that they use. Yeah, so Fever Ray is the artist behind that one, and I listen to their whole self-titled album quite often, and it's pretty cool stuff. So definitely, if I'm feeling like quiet and contemplative, I'll put on some Fever Ray.
That's great. Although when I watch Vikings, I storm the neighbor's house a lot, and that has caused problems. But that's a different. All right. Look.
I always try and do my hair like Ragnar when I after I watch that. Like, should I just shave the sides?
I'm picturing that now. I'm a visual learner, so that's great. All right. So you get in a fun or a silly mood? What do you listen to?
Well, there's this band out there right now that's kind of popular these days that is called Future Islands, and they did this track on David Letterman called Seasons, and it's pretty rockin', like summertime anthem-y kind of track. So yeah, lately I've been putting that on whenever I come home from work on a Friday and just want to dance around. And the album is actually called Singles, so I'll usually listen through that. It's a pretty, I mean, they're not metal in any way, but it's a lot of fun for sure. Yeah.
What about if you're in a sad or a melancholy mood?
I'll go for like Tchaikovsky. Usually I like putting on usually the discography, but sometimes I'll do like Sleeping Beauty or something. I just love composers that compose for ballet. I don't know why, but I just love it. I love imagining the dancers, and I've only ever seen like 2 ballets in my life, I think, like Nutcracker and one other one. I can't even remember. But I don't know, it's just so beautiful, and it's always so flowing, and I love a full orchestra, so I'll usually put on some Tchaikovsky, yeah.
You know, for some reason, I'm picturing you dancing a ballet, looking like Ragnar right now. But let's move on. What about What about when you're happy? You're blissful.
Oh, Edguy, for sure.
I love Edguy. Great call.
Oh yeah, like I put on Tears of a Mandrake.
Ah, yeah.
And I just sing along to that all day long.
Excellent. You know, you introduced me to Edguy when you did a playlist for us when we last year, and then I was like, how have I missed this band? This is awesome.
I know. I love when you find that though, when it's like, okay, I've missed out on however many 10 years you guys have been around, but I'm so glad that I found you now.
Exactly. Now, of all the Unleash the Archer Facebook posts in the past few months, the one I was most intrigued by was where you put up a possible tour stops map in North America. How's the tour planning going?
Pretty good. It's difficult, to make everything work exactly like you want it to. You can't always get the dates that you need, that need in the cities that you need. So, and it's not exactly like that map right now, but we're going to try and get to most of it. Definitely the East is happening. We've already got all of our Eastern Canadian shows confirmed and a lot of our Northeastern U.S. shows confirmed, and we've actually already had the Florida show announced. So we're definitely going to be doing that, but it's just a matter of how much we can get done in the time that we have, because we all work day jobs and we only get a certain amount of vacation time, and any more than that we're quitting our jobs, or basically. So we're working with what we have and doing as much as we can, but right now it looks like probably we'll only be able to fit in the East and Central and a little bit of Northwest stuff. So unfortunately, but we saw a lot of Western folks last year, and if they didn't come out, it's too bad. We'll be back though, for sure.
Well, I just think I should warn you that if you don't come to Nashville, Tennessee, or Louisville, Kentucky, Gomthog and I are going to come live with you until we can see a show. So just be aware that's going to happen.
Okay, and if you're not on this one, then I'll make sure that you're on the next one.
Oh, no, it won't matter. We're coming. I'm telling you. Just get ready.
All right, I'll get the blow-up mattress.
There we go. All right, now, I want to depart from music for just a second, and I want to compliment you on this great article I read about your top 10 sci-fi reads or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a great list, man. I love some of that stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Now, I have to ask you, though, as part of, who's your favorite Bene Gesserit?
Oh, I can't.
There's so many good ones to choose from.
Yeah. God, I don't even remember her name anymore.
For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, Frank Herbert wrote a series called Dune, which is one of the greatest sci-fi series ever written, and Brittney enjoyed it as well as I.
There's actually the new book written by Frank's son
Brian,
Sisterhood of Dune. That is the only one that I have been interested in reading. I mean, because he's actually written a lot of Dune books. Since Frank passed away.
More than his dad.
Exactly. So way more than his dad. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one because it focuses almost entirely on the Bene Gesserit and their lives, with what's going on. So I don't know. I honestly, I gotta reread the whole series because I just can't even think right now. But that book is probably going to draw me back into the series pretty hard. I think as soon as I can find it. It's right now. It's only in this weird super tall trade, or not trade, like paperback book thing that's like just so weird and awkward, and I am a judger of covers if there was ever one, and I just can't bring myself to buy this thing. It's so hideous. So I'm like waiting for it to come out and trade, or at least a regular size paperback that will match the rest of my series. So I haven't read it yet, but I'm very excited.
Well, we'll move on from your phobia of big books. You've got the new album coming, Brittney. The 26th, June 26th is the release date in Europe. July 10th is the release date in North America. You're working on your tour. I also saw where you have some shows scheduled, like on May the 30th, you're doing the Orange Metal Cruise 2. Is that correct?
Yeah, we played, it's called the, what is it called? The Metal Cruise, the Invisible Orange Metal Cruise, which is, the Invisible Orange is a promotion company here in Vancouver that puts on all the big metal shows. And once a summer, he charters a boat, and all the metalheads go out into the middle of the, into the Burrard Inlet there and all that, and play metal to all the barges that hang out there. So
that's awesome.
It was like a really good time, and it was beautiful, gorgeous day. Like, you couldn't have asked for a more perfect day. And all of my friends were there because, you know, we're all just friends here in the metal scene anyways, and it was a really, really good time. And then we have 3 CD release shows coming up in July, which we'll actually have the album in hand for those shows, so that'll be really nice.
And you're going to be playing with the Order of Chaos at those shows, right?
Yes, yep, they are coming out.
And Amanda Kiernan on the same stage is out of hand. I wish I could be there.
We've actually played with them a lot. They are like one of our favorite, because they're just over one province over. So we play with each other whenever we cross the borders between the provinces, pretty much. We just love those guys, and we've known them and been friends with them for a long time, like since, you know, the beginning of UTA, and we both started in 2007, I think, actually. So it's been a long history together, and yeah, we're really excited that they were willing to come out to the West Coast to play with us for these. They're releasing an album as well, actually.
Apocalypse Moon.
Yeah, Apocalypse Moon. I think it's out now, if I remember correctly.
It is out. They have a video out for the title track.
Right, yeah, I saw the music video. I didn't see a link of where to buy digitally or anything like that, though, so I wasn't sure if it was quite out or not. But
I give my left arm to see that show.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good time, for sure, yeah. And we're playing with Eye of Odin from the island on the two island shows, and that's going to be rad. And then Pyramidion at the Vancouver show, and they are a new band here in Vancouver that's like an amalgamation of members of like all these different really rad metal bands in Vancouver. So it's kind of like a super group. Really excited to play with those guys too. Yeah.
Well, Brittney, where can fans get music and merchandise and information about and for Unleash the Archers?
Well, pre-order packages and the record, once it's out, are going to be available. Well, they are available up on our Big Cartel page, which is unleashthearchers.bigcartel.com. But you can just go to unleashthearchers.com and it'll give you a link there. And I think, yeah, we're up on iTunes and Amazon. And if you can order from Napalm Records, direct from Napalm. You can order direct from napalmrecords.com. And yeah, that's basically the only outlets that Napalm has provided. I think like HMV.com and maybe a couple other sites like that have pre-orders available as well, but I'm not too sure.
Well, excellent. We'll get those up on our Facebook page tomorrow, the next day or so.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, Brittney Slayes from Unleash the Archers, thank you so much for joining us again. It's always a pleasure and a lot of fun to talk with you.
Thank you for having me. I really have a good time with you guys, so I'll have to do it again.
Well, everybody be looking for that new album and the tour announcement coming soon. Till next time, this is Brian and Brittney at the Great Metal Debate saying good night.
Good night.
night. I'll see you at the bar.